Today, we're going to be discussing the anatomy of a brand deal. I'm gonna walk you through the 6 parts that are almost universally always the same with each brand deal. Then we're gonna spend quite a bit of extra time digging into contracting, where there is a lot to be aware of, a lot of very, very important things to understand when you are going through the brand deal process. I wanna be clear, I am not a lawyer. If you need legal guidance, go to somebody who can provide legal guidance. However, what I am is a social and content strategist. I've run a strategy studio for over 11 years at this point, negotiated multiple 6 figures of revenue for content creators, and managed brands, programs, booking, I don't even know how many content creators at this point. So I've lived in this world and I've learned a lot, and I want to share it with you because it's so fucking important to me that content creators are able to monetize and that they also don't get taken advantage of. It's also important to me that brands understand what they're asking and brands understand how to approach this ecosystem. I believe in building bridges. I think that that's what's necessary in order to navigate this wild marketing landscape that we're looking at. With that said, let's dive into the anatomy of a brand deal. First up is the introduction, or the hands, if we're keeping the anatomy analogy. You've either outreached a brand or they've outreached you, or if you have representation or if they have an agency, those third parties are creating the interaction. Number 2 is the negotiation, the fun part. This is like the skeleton of the brand deal, where you're gonna get an idea of what the brand is asking you for. They may not give you a brief at this stage because normally that comes once the booking is confirmed. However, they'll be giving you an idea of what kind of content and what kind of messaging they would want from you, as well as what deliverables they're gonna be asking you for. And they should be getting an understanding of what your rates look like for those said deliverables, and maybe even a couple concepts based on what brief outline they've given you. It's not odd for a brand to ask for 1 or 2 sentences of what you think you would do. Never, however, at this point, ever be giving them a sample of something you'd create for them. You don't need to be filming a mock video or anything like that. Now, transparently, as a skeleton, things fall apart sometimes, and this is where brand deals tend to die because there's just misalignment in what each party wants. So this tends to be the stage where people walk away. It's normal. It's normal for people to walk away. It's normal for the negotiations to not fully work out. However, if you're seeing a really, really low conversion rate, 10 to 20% of the brand deals you negotiate are passing through and the other 80% aren't, then it's something where you need to reevaluate. Are my rates in alignment? Is my platform communicating what it needs to? Am I communicating effectively what I need to? You should see a pretty strong close rate. I like to see around a 40 to 50% close rate on brand deal negotiations. If you're holding your value, then brands are going to walk away. Contracting the brain of the brand deal, where we really have to light up and be very, very clear on what we are providing the brand and what they're providing us. Once we sign that DocuSign link or do the old-fashioned print and sign, it is done, it is set. That is a formal agreement, and so we need to be real clear on what we agree to before we move forward. We're gonna spend a lot more time on this piece here in a little bit. Number 4, execution. This is the lungs of the brand deal. This is where everything comes to life. Your post is approved if that's built in by the brand, and then you are going live, and it's out there, and you've shared it with the world, and you're like, oh my God, look at us, we're official. We did it. Next up is analytics and invoicing. This is the eyes, because people see the analytics. They see how things performed. Not every brand builds this in. Not every brand requires that you send them the analytics afterwards. Some will have you connect into a dashboard, or they'll have you connect your account so that they already have them automatically. But it also can be something where they ask you to send screenshots, 30 days after, or whatever that might be. That said, you don't wait to send your invoice for 30 days after. You send your invoice when the brand deal is completed. A lot of brands will have it built in that you need to send your invoice in order for that pay term to take effect. So you need to be on top of sending your invoices so that your payment is not delayed. Lastly, number 6, sunset or break up. This is the heart of the brand deal, where everyone looks at this and says, do we want to commit to a more long-term relationship, or is it time to have a messy little breakup? Was this just a situationship? Often it's just a situationship. It's a one-off. It's a little fling. And then everybody goes their separate ways, and that's okay. That tends to be what goes on. However, we love when we can work out a long-term partnership, and there are definitely those things where if you're feeling that synergy, don't be afraid to express that to the brand. But make sure that you've kind of expressed that throughout the process. It's always comes across a little feigned if there was very directness and there wasn't really any warmth throughout the process when the creator is oh my God, I love working with you so much, I just want to work with you again and again and again. It's well, you want to be paid again and again. It needs to feel like a relationship. We need to get back to remembering that there's another person on the other end of this and form those connections organically. All right, so let's dissect the brain. There's a lot here. There's a lot of pieces to go through. So I'm basically gonna walk you through the key pieces that tend to be in a contract. I'm going to tell you what they are, and then I'm gonna define what you need to know from a creator management perspective, what I think about when I see these pieces and what I keep in mind when I'm negotiating on behalf of our creators. Deliverables are just what you guessed. It is what you will deliver in exchange for whatever the rate or product exchange that you've negotiated with the brand. What should you know here is that the deliverables should be exactly what was discussed in your email threads or your phone calls or however you led that negotiation. Those deliverables should perfectly mirror. If you're seeing any other language, any other additions, you need to flag those because it should always align with the rate that was discussed. This is a key point where I'll say syndication must be spelled out. This tends to be the one that maybe snuck in or misunderstood by different parties. You don't give syndication away for free. So that leads me to what the fuck is syndication? Thank you so much for asking. My God, I love like call and response. You're the best. Syndication is often referred to as cross-posting amongst us normal people, but then in the corporate world, they will say syndication or they say syndicate across platforms. But all this really means is like if the agreement is an Instagram reel, then you may want to syndicate or cross-post to TikTok and YouTube Shorts. This must always be spelled out. And it should be charged more for, assuming that you have growth on those platforms, assuming that you have like established audiences on those other platforms, you should charge more and you should make a little bundle. And in fact, I love presenting a bundle back in the negotiation stage. I'll do another video on pricing and rates because I know that's very confusing and very difficult for people, and it is the Wild West out there. It must be spelled out in the contract. Sometimes I've seen like brands come back afterwards and they're like, would you mind like cross-posting this to TikTok or whatever? And it's not agreed to, and we've already like executed. And my answer is you should not do that unless A, you're feeling real nice, you are so charitable, or B, you are building a relationship and you think that would be a value. Sometimes if we really love a brand, I've had creators where they're like, I want to post this over somewhere. Like I want to volunteer, they didn't even ask. That's different. But if they're asking post fact, then what I would do is say, here would be my additional rate. Do you agree to that? Ideally, we get that in the contract. I do want to take this moment to note that if this is driving value for you, if you are feeling like you are enjoying this, or if you're like, I would prefer not to hear your voice, I would just prefer to know the information, then you can head over to my Substack, linked in the description below, and not hear my voice, fine. I've written this article. I tend to write a lot of articles on social media, content creators, what the landscape looks like, my take and perspective on it from being in this world for so long. Also would love if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's always helpful. I'd love to keep you around and share more information with you. The rate, the fun part, we love talking about the rate. The rate is simply what you are being paid for whatever it is that you are providing. The rate should match what you've discussed in prior communication. That feels obvious, but I'm just gonna flag it because it should match exactly. And I also mean that when it comes down to currency type. So let's say that the brand you're working with is in Canada, but you are based in the United States, negotiated in USD. And you do need to make that clear. I always put USD on everything. Obviously, if you're in Canada, put CAD, like wherever you are, use your own currency or whatever currency you're expecting to receive. However, you always wanna make sure that it is listed in the contract as your currency, and that you also want to make sure that there's not an adjustment down. For instance, you know, if you're working with a company in Canada and they're thinking, you know, $100 CAD, they're not paying you the exchange rate down. So $100 CAD is about roughly $71 USD right now. You shouldn't see that in the contract. It should simply be the terms that you agreed to, which would be your currency. It's also a good time because everybody gets weird around rate. And I sometimes, if I'm really vibing with whoever's on the other side of the table, I will just be clear that we're all uncomfortable a little bit with this because it's never really fun. And that's a point where you can have like a human connection. And also I would encourage you to remember that it is another human negotiating with you. They're not trying to screw you over. They're working with their parameters, you're working with your parameters, and we're all just trying to find that middle ground. So don't be intimidated by your rates. Don't be intimidated by the rate conversation because it makes you feel better. Nobody's really having fun at this point. Payable terms, less fun, but this is basically the terms in which you will get paid. So often this establishes the fact that you're gonna execute these deliverables, that you will send your invoice at this specific period, that you will provide analytics within blah, blah, blah. There shouldn't really be any additional stipulations other than those in this section. Now here's where we get into the really fun terms of like how long you have to wait to get paid. The industry standard is net 30. We don't love it. Nobody loves waiting 30 days, but it is common. It's not some major red flag. Now, an unfortunate reality, especially if you're working with corporations or larger brands, is that you might start seeing net 60 or net 90, aka hell. If you're a larger creator or a celebrity, you have more leverage to push back to net 30. I always recommend asking if net 30 is possible. I want to prepare you that when we're dealing with these really large systems, they often are very locked into those terms. I've been told accounting departments are just slow as fuck, and they seem to prove it time and time again. So just be aware of that you may or may not have leverage there. If you are a larger creator or celebrity, or if you have representation, they should be advocating for you, or you should be able to advocate for a little bit better terms. If you are a celebrity too, it's not unheard of. I've had people where we've gotten them like 50% upfront. Typical creator collaborations, you're gonna see net 30. If I had a soapbox to stand on right now, I would be standing on it. I'd pull out my megaphone. We're gonna talk about usage rights. In all my consultations with creators, you've seen some of my videos online before, you know that I'm incredibly passionate and waving my flags around usage rights because it is serious. Important to me to cover this. So what are usage rights? They're split into two camps: organic usage rights and paid usage rights. Organic usage rights means that like the brand can take the content and share it on their channels. This tends to be a good thing for you. It tends to be very acceptable. It's built into kind of the baseline of a brand deal. That's very, very common that is just sort of understood. However, we do prefer that it's spelled out. When we get to paid usage rights is where things get complex and really, really important. Paid usage rights are the right for the brand to take the content that you create from the brand deal and use it for ads and use it for any form of paid media. And there are a lot of different forms of paid media that I'm gonna just define for you so that you feel like more confident when you see them come up in negotiations or defined in contracts, but they're often put under this umbrella of paid usage rights as a generality. First up is whitelisting. Whitelisting is basically where you will make the post and then you will send the brand a Spark code if you're on TikTok, or you'll send them like the Meta Business Manager access, whatever, and they're gonna run ads of that content through your profile. So the ad is going to be coming from your profile and it's on your feed. Dark listing sounds spooky, but it is simply whitelisting, but instead of it being on your feed, they're taking that content and repurposing it through ads. Still going through your profile. You know, this is where they may play more with the copy. It might be less you. Safe listing, much more of like a corporate term. You're not gonna see this in a lot of brand deals, but this is basically where they can send it to like a marketing ecosystem email place, and I rarely see it, but it is a thing, so that's now you know. Boosting, the most typical thing of people just putting money behind your post when it goes up, just like you might be familiar with boosting a post. And then general repurposing. This is a term that I do not like because what the fuck does that mean? Sometimes it's snuck in there, and it is the one that we want to flag and we want to ask for definition, because that could simply mean that I'm using your video as a testimonial on my site, or I'm using your video in an email, or I'm using your video wherever the fuck I want, because what the fuck does general repurposing mean? Paid usage rights, you should always charge more. And normally, again, I'll get into this more deeply in my rate video, but normally how I charge usage rights is on a monthly basis. So let's say like I have somebody and they want to do it for 2 months or whatever, I'd be like, okay, this person's $1,000 a month on top of whatever we've negotiated. When we get into bundling or whatever, there's some better deals that we can come up with, but you should always charge more because they are using your face to continuously sell the product for a duration or a term. Paid usage rights tend to be 30 days, a 30-day test. Some brands will want 90 days. More than that, I don't see as often, and I don't really like agreeing to, but you should really just charge quite a bit more if they want it for more than that. You should never, ever give paid usage rights in perpetuity. If you see the word perpetuity, you should flag it. We don't do anything in perpetuity. That means forever. That means they can do whatever they want with this forever. This is different with UGC or affiliate. I want to be transparent that we're talking about traditional brand deals here. So they're different for different scopes of like the landscape. Traditional brand deal sense, you should never be providing that for perpetuity. The next one that's a really big deal is exclusivity. I think like, oh my God, they want to be exclusive with me. Like, oh, a long-term relationship, yes, please. Only if they're paying more. Exclusivity can be very detrimental if we have a misstep here. So exclusivity is basically where in the brands category, you can't partner with another competitor or brand in that category for the period of exclusivity. I tend to see this with larger brand deals, and it tends to be for a very short period of time. So what I tend to see is like a 7-day before and 7-day after, where they don't want you to be sharing a competitor brand. Brands that are really on top of this will provide you exactly what those brands are. They'll be like, you can't work with any of these brands within this period and this period. After that, you can work with them, but in these periods, we don't want to see anything posted from them. It's fair, right? You don't want to be sharing the Nintendo Switch one day and then the Xbox the next day from a sponsor thing. I mean, you might want to because it's like money. Those brands are like, okay, well then your audience is going to be considering that thing right after we asked you to have them consider this thing. Which also from a branding perspective, it's good for you to have some space so that your audience isn't getting whiplash, because we want to be bringing these things authentically. Where it can get kind of messy is when it's more long-term or when it's more broad. So anything where it's like, hey, for 30 days, you can't be doing that after, then we need to be charging more. It is potentially taking opportunities away from you. What we really want to work out for is very, very broad terms. So for instance, I almost did like a Bonobos commercial campaign once, and I stopped when I got to the contract because they wanted the exclusivity in all apparel for a year. In all apparel, which means I couldn't do gloves, I could do shoes. Like, that's so broad. Like, what else could I do then? Like, what can I take part in that space? And where it becomes really detrimental online is, let's say you do one in your niche. Like, let's say you did a skincare exclusivity and your whole platform is skincare, then that's a problem, because you also have to be very mindful of how you casually post about things and how you casually talk about brands. So exclusivity is not to be played with, and we need to charge more for it. I went and forgot term, so let me come back and tell you what term is. The term is basically the timeline in which everything will be executed. So when the draft is due, when the concept is due, when the posting will go live, basically just outlines the dates and all of the specifics of when everything will be executed, which really gives the like flow and through line to the deal. This is really important when you're looking at the contract, to just make sure everything is doable. We've had deals where they're like, everything needs to be turned around in a week, and there's that understanding. Sometimes you charge more for that, but that would have happened in the negotiation stage. You should know the like terms and deadlines during the negotiation stage. It shouldn't be a surprise to you where they're like, oh haha, we want this in a week in the contract, but they haven't spoken about that for the entire period of the negotiation. That shouldn't be happening. I'm not going to say that it won't happen, but you also can have a conversation then. You now know the anatomy of a brand deal. I hope this was incredibly helpful and also like calming. Hopefully I understand, and I see a lot of these questions and I hear a lot of these plights where it's like, oh my God, there's so much to know. I don't know what any of this means. I'm kind of getting lost in the sauce. I have these opportunities coming my way and I don't know what to do with them. I hope that this made you feel a little more empowered, a little clearer, and just know that the more brand deals that you negotiate and you work through, the easier that it gets every time. But also, we just want to make sure that you are getting the best deal possible and that no detriment is being done by any of these terms that can be complex or confusing. So if you are a creator, I'm gonna do the 2-second plug here. Please subscribe, super helps me. Also, I do offer strategy sessions and consultations for creators. If that's something that you need, you can learn more about my work down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Get out there, monetize that platform, be a badass, make your dreams come true, and I will see you in the next video.